The defiant queen who rejected her crown and her gender. Queen Christina of Sweden was a royal anomaly from the moment she was born. It was December 1626, and when the newborn was placed before her father, King Gustavus Adolphus, he was reportedly told, "Your Majesty has a son." Only later did they realize the baby was a girl. But the king, delighted by the child's strength and fierce cry, declared that she would be raised no differently than a boy. "She will be clever," he said, "for she is a girl." Thus began the story of one of Europe's most unconventional monarchs. After her father died in battle when she was just 6, Christina was declared heir to the Swedish throne. Her mother, Maria Eleonora of Brandenburg, was overwhelmed with grief. She reportedly kept her husband's heart in a golden casket beside her, and she often neglected Christina. As a result, Christina was taken from her mother and raised by the men of the Swedish court. From a young age, Christina proved herself to be brilliant, eccentric, and unpredictable. She read Latin, Greek, Hebrew, and philosophy. She devoured books on science and theology. While most young royal women were trained to be queens in name only, figureheads, wives, mothers, Christina trained to rule. She dressed in men's clothing, rode horses astride like a man, and took pride in being mistaken for a young prince. Her manners were rough, her speech sharp and often vulgar. She stayed up all night reading, slept only a few hours a night, and was known to rarely bathe. By her own account, she had little patience for vanity, fashion, or frivolity. Yet she could be charming, eloquent, and persuasive when she wanted to be. In 1644, at the age of 18, Christina officially began her reign. She ruled during a difficult time. Sweden was still embroiled in the 30 Years' War, but Christina worked hard to secure peace. She also worked harder to mold her court into a center of intellectual and artistic achievement. She invited musicians, artists, and scholars from across Europe to Stockholm. The philosopher René Descartes came at her personal request and died shortly after arriving, likely due to the frigid climate and grueling early morning study sessions Christina insisted on. But while Christina was brilliant and bold, she was also deeply controversial. She refused to marry, despite endless pressure. She referred to marriage as a farce, and said she had an insurmountable distaste for the state of matrimony. She once reportedly said she felt more like a man than a woman, and many believed she had no interest in men at all. Her closest relationship was with a beautiful noblewoman named Ebba Spara, whom she called her bedfellow. Christina wrote Ebba love letters filled with longing, jealousy, and affection. At court, people gossiped. Was their relationship romantic? Sexual? Was Christina a lesbian? Today, historians debate the exact nature of their bond, but it's clear that it was unusually intimate, and in the eyes of many, deeply improper. In the end, the crown wasn't enough for Christina. By 1654, just 10 years into her reign, she shocked the world. She announced she would abdicate the throne, not for a man, not because of illness or scandal, but because she simply no longer wanted to be queen. She staged her abdication in dramatic fashion. In a grand ceremony, she removed her royal regalia piece by piece. She laid down her crown, her orb, her scepter, and with them, her identity as queen. Beneath her formal dress, she wore men's clothing, symbolic of the new life she was about to embrace. Her cousin Charles X. Gustav succeeded her as monarch, and Christina left Sweden behind, never to return as queen. But her transformation was far from over. Christina traveled through Europe in disguise, often dressing as a man and using false names. She shocked Protestant Europe again when she converted to Catholicism, a move seen as both a betrayal and a blasphemy by the staunchly Lutheran Swedes. She was received in Rome with great fanfare and lived there for the rest of her life, a queen without a kingdom. In Rome, Christina created a new kind of court, a decadent, artistic, and scandalous one. She became a major patron of the arts and sciences, hosting musicians, painters, philosophers, and even cardinals. She took lovers, male and possibly female, and gained a reputation as a charming, dangerous, and unpredictable force. She also involved herself in politics. At one point, she attempted to seize the Neapolitan throne with the help of the Pope. The plot failed spectacularly. She later returned to Rome, now older, heavier, and still defiant. She was known to carry a sword and dress like a man, even in her final years. Christina died in 1689 at the age of 62. She requested not to be buried like a queen, but she was given a grand funeral anyway. Her final resting place, St. Peter's Basilica, one of only 3 women buried there. To some, Queen Christina of Sweden was mad. To others, she was brilliant. She was a woman who rejected the role the world had assigned her and forged a path few would have dared. In an era when queens were expected to be pious, obedient, and reproductive, she was none of those things. She was wild, intelligent, scandalous, bold, and ultimately unforgettable. A queen who abandoned her crown, crossed gender lines, defied religious expectations, and lived entirely on her own terms.